Here we go. Hi, everybody. Can somebody just give me the thumbs up in the comments to let me know that I am actually live and not speaking to myself? Okay. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Joe. Okay. In last week's lives, we dug into the choice level of my confident roadmap. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just bring that up to remind people, and for those of you who may not have seen it, of the map. And what I was saying is that if you follow this map and you implement the map into your business, you're going to be able to build and grow your business with clarity, control, and confidence, even in these uncertain times. By the way, if you want a copy of the map, just drop the word roadmap into the comments or DM me and I'll get it over to you. So we were exploring last week the choice level because we want business to give you more choices. So we were asking, what lifestyle do you want your business to provide you with? And what does the business need to look like to be able to do that? That's what we did in the clarity step. Step 2 was what might get in the way of you achieving that. And then step 3, the navigation step, is how can you move forward consistently? Actually, before we get into today's live, it is a good idea. Score yourself honestly on a scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you that you've got a clear plan of priorities with the right actions to take for the next 90 days? Sounds good to me. How confident are you that you've got a clear plan of priorities with the right actions to take for the next 90 days? And then score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is total clarity and 1 is don't ask. Now, if you're not scoring yourself 9 or 10, then you've got some work to do. But once the route is clear, the next question is, does this plan actually work financially? I'm just going to open up. And I want to be very clear about this finance step. The numbers matter all the time, but they matter even more when the economy becomes uncertain like it is now in the UK. And that's because numbers are the language of business. And if you can't speak the language, it becomes very difficult for you to make informed decisions and lead confidently. And something I see far too often is business owners working incredibly hard, putting in long hours, making huge efforts under constant pressure, but because they don't fully understand the story that the numbers are telling them, decisions get made emotionally, or they get made on hope. And as you know, hope isn't a strategy. Sometimes decisions get made with hindsight, and that can be months after the damage has already been done. And when we make decisions emotionally, which is better known as gut feeling, the challenge is that in that case, gut often stands for gave up thinking. And when the numbers are unclear, emotion takes over. And when emotion goes up, what happens to your intellect? Comes crashing down till it's sound effects. And far too many business decisions are made emotionally instead of strategically. Now, think about it. How many business owners do you know that avoid looking deeply into the numbers because they're scared of what they might see? Have you ever delayed opening your management accounts because deep down you already know the story isn't probably good? And that's definitely been, I've been guilty of that in the past, without a doubt. Have you ever looked at the bank balance and then hoped things had somehow magically improved before next month? And the truth is, finance in business is an emotional matter, whether people like to admit it or not. And here's the thing. When you haven't got confidence in your numbers, fear creeps in. And when fear creeps in as a business owner, often they start making short-term decisions that can feel safe, but they can damage the business in the long term. So that might be decisions like discounting to win a sale. It might be reducing the wrong cost. It could be avoiding investment, holding back on recruitment, or maybe reducing marketing at exactly the wrong time. And all those decisions, usually come from a lack of financial clarity. And if you don't understand the language of business, numbers, you can't understand the story that your numbers are telling you. And if you can't understand the story, you're probably going to struggle to write a better ending to that story. Now, for me, the finance step is about visibility and control. It's not about you becoming an accountant. Leave that to your accountant. That's what they're great at. You concentrate on what you're great at. But this is about you becoming financially fluent enough to ask better questions so that you can lead your business with confidence. Because for me, when you understand your numbers, you stop guessing, you start predicting, and your decisions become calmer, clearer, less emotional, and far more intentional. Now, there's a lot to cover in the finance step, but I want to focus in on a few key areas that, if you implement them properly and diligently, they can dramatically increase your confidence and your business profitability. And the first area is budgeting. But I'm not talking about survival budgeting. I'm talking about budgeting for growth. One of the first things I implement with clients is a forward-looking budget, a budget that's aligned with the goals that we created back in the clarity step. And here's where many businesses go wrong. Their budget is basically last year's numbers plus 10%. And if you were to ask them why 10%, it's usually because 10% is slightly above inflation, so it still looks like growth, and it's easy maths. But business leadership deserves much better than guesswork. And a proper budget should reflect where you want to go, what the business needs to deliver, what resources are required, and what level of profitability is actually needed to support the lifestyle that you want to live. So, let me ask you this. Does your current budget, presuming you've got one, does it reflect the business you truly want to build, or is it the business that you're sort of settling for? Because without a proper growth budget, you'll find yourself drifting financially, and you can be reacting emotionally. And then growth can actually create more stress than it does the freedom that you were looking for. And once you've got that growth budget in place and it's aligned to your vision, the next thing we need to understand is break even. Now, most people would describe break even as the point where your sales cover your costs, and that's right. But I prefer to look at it as the point your business starts to make profit. So, what is the true break-even point in your business? How far can your sales fall before the pain appears? What are the safety margins in your business? Because the truth is, most business owners don't actually know how much room for error they have. And when you don't know your break-even, every wobble can feel fatal, even when it isn't. And when your break-even becomes clear, you'll find that your fear reduces, uncertainty reduces, and calmer, better decisions get made. Another huge area we need to understand in terms of finance is margins. And this is where I think many businesses unintentionally hide problems. Because revenue can look really impressive. You know, you could go, woohoo, I've got a 7-figure business, but profit is quietly disappearing underneath that. So we need to understand margins by product, by service, by customer, by salesperson, by marketing channel. Because revenue has a habit of hiding problems, margin reveals them. And when you start looking properly at your margins, you're going to find yourself you're going to stop chasing bad revenue. You're going to stop celebrating turnover that can actually create exhaustion instead of reward. And you can start focusing on quality revenue, on profitable revenue, on revenue that actually improves the business and your life. And one area where margin gets destroyed and eroded incredibly quickly is through discounting. And in uncertain times, like we are at the moment, fear-driven discounting can become common. So let's say, for instance, sales are slowing down a bit, your sales are dropping, but you've still got bills to pay. That can create panic. And a lot of people reduce the prices to get some money into the bank account. But here's the danger. A relatively small discount can wipe out a huge percentage of your profit. Now, something that people don't realise is the discount comes off your profit. It doesn't come off the whole sale, it comes off the profit bit, the bit that you get. And when you discount, it means you now you may need significantly more sales just to stand still. So you're going to have to work harder just to stand still. And in some cases, you could be going backwards. The other thing is once you start discounting, you're training your customers to expect discounts. And that becomes very difficult for you to wind back on that decision. So let me ask you, are your prices based on value or fear? Are you pricing strategically or reacting emotionally? Because pricing impacts cash, it impacts margin, it impacts positioning, it impacts customer quality, it impacts confidence. It impacts everything, doesn't it? And I share a tool with my clients which is called the Profit Impact Map. The Profit Impact Map shows you the impact that discounting has on the number of customers you need. And it's really it's a real eye-opener. And if you'd like a copy of the Profit Impact Map so you can see the effects that discounting is having on your business if you're doing it, and also the effect that price rises can have on your sales, just drop the word impact into the comments or DM me and I will get it over to you. Now, with regard to pricing, a question I really like to ask my clients early on in our relationship is, someone has to be the most expensive in your market, why not make it you? Someone has to be the most expensive in your market, why not making you? And the answer to that one question brings up a ton of things that we can get to work on. Another important distinction we need to understand is that profit is not cash. Profit is not cash. In actual fact, profit is just a theory. And this catches so many businesses out. There's been many businesses that have been profitable and successful, but still failed. Why does that happen? Because cash flow and profit are different things. So you could have money tied up in stock. You might have slow paying customers. You could have VAT bills approaching, tax liabilities that are due, particularly more in this day and age, supplier pressures. You could be, believe it or not, overtrading. When that happens, businesses look profitable on paper, but cash can become tight. And the truth is that a truth that a lot of people don't know, by the way, is that growth sucks cash out of business at an alarming rate. So let me ask you, have you ever looked at your profit figure and thought, I thought we were profitable. Why does my bank account make me feel stressed? And that's probably a cash flow issue, not a profit issue. And that's why cash flow forecasting matters so much in business. And yet it's something that's missing from so many businesses. A simple forward-looking cash forecast. Not just checking a bank balance every morning and hoping for the best. And the truth is, cash problems rarely arrive loudly. They sneak up quietly. And without forecasting, you're going to find that your surprises increase, your stress increases, your fear can increase. But when your cash flow is visible, you'll find your confidence improves, your decision making improves, your planning improves, and your sleep improves. Happy days. And this is also where the P&L and the balance sheet become incredibly important. Not from an accounting perspective, but from a leadership perspective. Because the P&L tells you how the business has performed, which means it's back there. It's a lagging indicator, and it's no indicator of the possible future that you could have. And that's why cash flow forecasting and a budget for growth are so important. And we've got the balance sheet, and that tells you how strong the business actually is. And that's a huge distinction, because some businesses look really profitable, but financially fragile underneath. And I mentioned to you before that you don't need to become an accountant, but you're going to find it extremely useful if you have an understanding of how the different financial documents dovetail together to give you an overall picture of your business. So ask yourself, could your business comfortably survive a difficult quarter right now? Are you building a profitable and resilient business? One final area I do want to touch on today, and we'll go into a lot more depth when we get to the evaluation step, and that is that you do not need reports that are swamping you with and confusing you with lots and lots of numbers. In truth, you need a handful of numbers that truly matter, because overwhelm through a lot of numbers can kill engagement, but simplicity drives action. So identify in your business the key numbers, the key trends, the key drivers, and then review them consistently, not emotionally, not reactively, strategically. Because as your understanding of the numbers improves, you're going to find something powerful happens. Fear reduces, confidence increases, decisions become calmer, and strategy becomes more intentional. So that means you stop asking the question, can we afford this? Instead, start asking, is this the right strategic move for us right now? And that's a completely different mindset. Because confidence in business doesn't come from optimism, it comes from clarity. And clarity starts with the numbers. So let me ask you one final question in this finance step. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is total clarity and 1 is don't ask, how financially confident are you really? How confident are you that you understand the numbers, that you're leading from the numbers, and that you're using the numbers proactively instead of reactively? And then once the financial foundations are clear, the next question becomes, how do we consistently generate the right kind of income without the constant pressure, stress, or blinking hard work? And that's going to be the next step in the confident roadmap, the income step. Now, before we go, your momentum move for today is simple. Identify the 5 financial numbers that influence your business most. Not 50, just 5. Then ask yourself, how often do I review these numbers? What are these numbers telling me? And what actions do they require? Now, if you're recognizing that your numbers feel unclear, or you know that you've been making decisions emotionally instead of strategically, drop me a message, or actually just let me put this link into the comments. So you can drop me a message or follow the link that I've just put in the comments, and we'll have a conversation where we'll identify your gaps and build you a clearer, less stressful financial picture for you so that you're going forward making a lot more profit and have more than enough cash in the bank. Okay, let's leave it there for today. Until the next live, same time, same place on Wednesday, where we're going to be digging deeper into the income step of the confident roadmap. You go out there and create some real momentum for yourself. Thanks for watching.